Hi everybody. I was just relaxing here under the shade of our huge oak tree we have growing here at the Stagecoach Inn Museum. My name is Fred Nuesca. I'm a volunteer here. Sadly enough, we're going to lose this huge heritage oak tree. It's going to have to be cut down and removed, despite the best efforts of the Conejo Recreation and Park District and the city of Thousand Oaks. This tree did not survive the 5-year drought that we had between 2012 and 2017. But it's not the only oak tree that has suffered this way. There are thousands of oak trees throughout California that have suffered the same fate. Actually, this is just but one of many different kinds of oak trees that grows in this area and then also in our adjacent Santa Monica Mountains. We have, first of all, the scrub oak. And the scrub oak is just more or less just a little shrub, and it doesn't grow much over about 10 feet tall with multiple little trunks. Then we have the interior live oak, which is very uncommon. You rarely see it. It's a very small oak tree. But then we have the two large oak trees that most everybody identifies with and associates with, and that would be your valley oak tree and your coast live oak tree. And this is a coast live oak tree here at our museum. The valley oak tree is the largest oak tree in the United States. It gets up to about 70 feet tall, and it grows in valleys and in grasslands where it's called an oak savanna. And they grow singularly and separately from one another. So there are white spaces in between them. Then, of course, we have the coast live oak tree, which is our oak tree again. And it grows to about 60 feet tall. And it grows anywhere in valleys, on the slopes of hills, but it's especially found bordering streams and creeks. And it forms dense groves. So this is an oak tree grove right here. You can see how dense it is, and you can see that the canopy actually grows very close together and intertwines, and it can make a very solid area of shade. Father Crespi, who was the diarist for the Potrero expedition back in 1769, what wrote in one of his journals that we have traveled for many leagues underneath a grove of oak trees, and only occasionally would there be a shaft of light coming down through to the ground. Actually, there are very few oak trees left now as compared to how many were here before European contact. And the reason for that is 4 different reasons. First of all, the Spanish brought in cattle, and the cattle would step on the seedlings and eat the seedlings. And then they also brought in grass to help feed the cattle. And the grass can grow underneath oak trees, which very few plants can do. They have shallow roots, and they suck up all of the water before it got down to the roots of the oak tree. Also, they were professional woodcutters that would come out from Los Angeles and cut oak trees down to sell back to the people in Los Angeles. Well, of course, the biggest culprit of all that contributed to the demise of the oak trees in California was urbanization. And that would be the removal of all the oak trees in order to make freeways, highways, shopping malls, and such as that. So that's the reason that we have very few oak trees left now as compared to how many we had before European contact. You know, if all the oak trees were removed, including our oak tree, of course, is that of any importance whatsoever? How would it affect us? Well, first of all, there is 1,500 different species of insects, 800 species of reptiles and amphibians, 60 species of mammals, and 150 species of birds that would be adversely affected or possibly become extinct. And also, when the Chumash lived here, they very much depended upon oak trees in order to harvest the acorns in late October. They would process them and make them into a coarse meal, and they could add water, and that would be one of their staples. They ate it every day, twice a day. And also, an oak tree, especially an older oak tree, transpires about 140 gallons of water out of its leaves every day. And the average bathtub has about 60 to 80 gallons of water in it. So as you can see, the oak trees, especially when you figure that there's thousands of them, contribute a lot of water back into the atmosphere. And when it does go back to the atmosphere, it's been purified and filtered out. And then also, of course, oak trees take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen into the atmosphere. And that's what we need. We need more oxygen in our atmosphere and less carbon dioxide, of course. One often asked question is, how old are oak trees? Well, you really can't tell the age of an oak tree by the size of an oak tree. It all has to do with wherever the acorn fell and sprouted. If it's in under the right conditions, water and sunlight, it can grow, believe it or not, as much as 2 feet a year. And the coast live oak trees get up to about 60 feet tall. So that means it would be 2 feet a year. So in about 30 years, it could be a fully grown oak tree. However, the National Association of Arborists came up with a formula for figuring out an oak tree after you make certain measurements. And I applied that formula to our oak tree here, and it came out to be 298.9 years old. And that's an interesting thought, because what was happening here 300 years ago, that's food for thought. And I've been hiking the Santa Monica Mountains for at least since I was 7 years old, and I've seen many oak trees. And even to this day, when I see an oak tree, I'm filled with awe and wonder at the beauty of oak trees. Kiddingly, I've often said, if I ever die and am reincarnated, I would like to come back as an oak tree. The scientific name for the coast live oak tree like ours here at the museum is Quercus Agrifolia. Quercus means fine tree, which more than aptly applies to the beauty of these trees. Well, it's getting a little bit warm. I'm going to sit back down underneath our oak tree here in the shade and just relax a little bit. So I just wanted to thank you. Thanks for watching.